Welcome back to This Podcast Takes Tokens. I'm Ryan, joined by my brother Derek. We are here to talk about all things nostalgic, things we loved, things we grew up with. And before we do that, we're going to start out with our icebreaker question that we do every single week. Last week, Derek, I asked you, what is the worst album you ever bought?
Ooh, yeah. See, I was thinking about this a lot, and early on, like I don't know if you remember or not. In the mid '80s, singles were everywhere. Like you could go out, like if there was a song that you liked, you could go out and get just that song on like CD or cassette for a few bucks, for maybe $5, depending on the artist and everything, and how many songs that your singles they put on there. And so my early collection comprised of a bunch of those singles. And there are a few of those that at the time I did not regret, but in hindsight now I completely regretted maybe a few years after, or even months after in some cases. But the word that kept sticking out in my head is album. What's the album that you regret buying the most? And for me, it's actually a collection of albums. Everything by ICP. For a hot minute in high school, I was really into ICP, and I got their albums, and they kind of had like this through line story going with all these like first like 5 or 6 albums they had, and I think that really sparked something in me. I like that idea of like an overarching story and narrative, if you will. Like I was really into WBF at the time too, so like anything that's like story based was really hooking into me. And ICP did that, and they got me with like this whole like story thing. But now I look back on it, and even like a couple of years later, I was just like, man, these are just like, this is garbage. This is a complete waste. No offense to the juggalos out there. Like if you like it, that's great. That's fine. That's for you. It's just it quickly is as quickly as it was for me. It wasn't for me, and I kind of wish I wouldn't have wasted so much time and money on it.
Yeah, I never jumped on board the ICP train. I knew
good for you.
A couple guys in school that were into it, but just wasn't for me.
So, fair enough.
Yeah. Mine was, I don't know if you remember this band. You remember Sixpence None the Richer? They had one hit, There She Goes.
Yeah.
I bought the album for the song.
The rest of it sounds nothing like it.
Oh my gosh, it's terrible. Like, and back then, like when that came out, I was probably 13, I think, maybe 12. So my funds were very limited. I remember buying that album, and I went home, and I put it in my CD player, my 5-disc changer that I had. Yeah, I was living high. And I put that in. I put it on There She Goes, and
there she goes.
That was
my money gone.
I listened to the rest of the album. I was like, oh, I just spent like $15 on this thing. And, there it goes.
Yeah,
but,
there it goes.
Live and learn. That's the thing. I think that's. So we kind of live in an age now where it's like we just really hear hits, right? Like people get on, artists are making full albums, but people when they get on Spotify or whatever, wherever they get their music from,
whatever streaming platform,
they're just going to the hits, and I don't know. So that kind of alleviates some of that, like, oh, I just bought this crap album, but I don't know. You also have the there's, like you were saying with the ICP stuff, even though it wasn't like, something, you look back on it now, you're like, oh, that was pretty stupid of me to, but there's something to be said about an actual album, and especially like a concept album, where everything just kind of, I don't know,
there's a narrative
goes together. There's a narrative there. Yeah. So I think that is something that's kind of lost now. You see that stuff in like indie music, or, more of like the less popular genres. Progressive rock is something I think that, has a lot of that now. But anyway, so There She Goes. Sixpence None the Richer. I can't remember what the album was, but that they had a good song on there, and
Yeah.
that's about all I can say about that. So,
I tell you, I wasted my money on a single once, and
mhm.
it wasn't even the right song. Like there wasn't hard like the album artwork did not mesh with what
Yeah.
it actually ended up being. It
Mhm.
was I remember it being a very nondescript, kind of dark album artwork. It was just a single, so it had just like 2 songs on it,
Mhm.
and I was really into. I had just gotten into Cake, and really
Oh
liked the
yeah, yeah.
song "Going the Distance," right? And so I came going through the singles, and I came across one. It's 2 songs. One of them was "Going the Distance." That's all I saw. "Going the Distance." I was like, "Great, I'm grabbing it. I'm going." And it was like $2. So I checked out. I go out and I pop it in to my CD player, and I'm listening to it. It was "Going the Distance" by Michael Bolton on the Hercules soundtrack, the Disney movie. That one I instantly regretted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
but I don't know. You learn
Yeah.
to read like everything.
You do. Yes. Yes. Yes.
I need
Exactly.
to read the whole cover.
Yes.
But,
Yeah.
well,
Let us
you ready to
know
start this episode?
what's the worst Yeah. Well, yeah. Let us know what's the worst album that you've ever purchased. We would love to read your comments. We'll read them on the air, and
Yeah.
we'll have a good chuckle with you about that. So yeah, we're gonna hit our intro. We'll be right back, and we'll get into the episode.
See y'all around. Your local video store card.
A comic book in your back pocket.
Games with no tutorials.
Music you had to discover.
And drinking water straight from the hose.
These are the things us millennials remember fondly. We are the Jennings brothers.
Join us after the streetlights come on
as we race our bikes from the top of the hill
right down memory lane.
Exchange those quarters, because this podcast takes tokens.
And we're back. This podcast takes. I just scared my cat as soon as I did that. He took off into the other room. He was right here beside me. Anyway, we are going to be talking about A Knight's Tale today. This is a listener suggested episode. Fozzie Guy. We haven't heard from Fozzie Guy for quite a while. Fozzie Guy, if you're out there listening to us, this is for you. This is a movie that you suggested, although I have seen this before. It wasn't something that was really on. You have not? Okay. Yeah, it wasn't something that was really on my radar to watch until he had mentioned it.
No.
You know, so.
I miss Fozzie Guy.
Yeah.
His comments.
Yeah. Released May 11th, 2001. Had a budget of $65 million. Grossed $117.5 million. So it did pretty well. Critics didn't give it that great of a review. And I can kind of see a few things why. But of course has Heath Ledger in it. I didn't write the names of these other people down, but the who's who of
Alan Tudyk,
Paul Bettany.
Paul Bettany, yeah.
Yep.
I hadn't seen the girl in anything else before.
Yeah, I've seen her in something, but it's been, I don't know. She was, I couldn't tell you what it was. It was something around that time that she was in.
Probably,
but anyway, yeah, I did, minus a few things, I did enjoy this movie. What'd you think about it?
I did end up enjoying the film, but I'm going to preface that by saying I tend to enjoy films a lot the first time I watch them, and then on the rewatch, those rose-colored glasses tend to go down a little bit. But like, I got no problem like jumping into a movie and just like whatever universe they want to set up, as long as they're clear about their rules, I'll ride with you. I'm there for it. I enjoyed it. I was a little what do I want to say here? Confused. I don't know how these people knew Queen
Yeah,
in the beginning, but hey, we're gonna roll with it, and that's what we're gonna do. This song, this movie, it felt like somebody just said, you know what, I want to take a good old fashioned, just like American, like football movie or sports movie, and I want to put it in the Middle Ages. So we got to
yeah,
have some rock music, and
yep.
we got to have some training montages, but we're gonna have jousting and swords and armor, and
Yes, yes.
I'm okay with that. I'll roll
Yeah.
with it.
You know, I so that was the one thing that I didn't care for, right? Was the rock music in this.
It's a
Um,
little odd.
what I was hoping for was a post-credit scene where Freddie Mercury is coming back from a time travel machine. He's like, "Well, I introduced them to some of this music.
Did you
But
stay for the post credit scene?
was there a post-credit scene?
There is a post credit scene.
Really? What happens in this? Tell me. I never knew there was a post-credit scene.
Remind me at the end. I'll tell you at the end.
Okay. But I did a little research into this. I'm like, why do they pick like classic rock music? Much as I like classic rock, it just didn't seem to fit,
A little weird.
Yeah,
It was jarring.
yes, it kind of throws you off guard. You're like, what?
Yeah.
What is
Like,
it?
what's
We
the
will
tone with
rock
this?
you. Like, yeah. So the director ended up leaving that in because I guess they were kind of on the fence about it. They ended up leaving it and shot that first scene and everything with them doing everything because he wanted to convey the importance of music during that time and how, like, we listen to Renaissance music now and we're like, oh, this is kind of boring. You got lutes and a lot of woodwind instruments and stuff. And, back then, like, this is how they would react when they heard like music like that. They were very excited about the music they were hearing. So even though he has modern music in there, I know it's classic, but modern music in there, it's supposed to convey the energy that people had when they would hear music back then.
Okay.
So I get that. I still don't think it fits, but I think they could have.
Like a reverse Romeo and Juliet. Like they took a
Yeah.
Romeo and Juliet story and they told it in modern times, like what in the
Mhm.
mid-90s. It kind of felt like they were doing the reverse there, where they were taking like some different things and like shoehorning it back into like this medieval story. But
Yeah.
I didn't interrupt you.
No, you're fine. I think the movie, it was good. Like I said, I enjoyed it. I think that if they wanted to do a little more serious of a tone with it, they could have taken that out and adjusted, just tweaked a few things in the movie, and they could have like done like a real like serious like rags to riches sort of a movie out of this. But
that, or like maybe just not set it in England and just make it like a completely like fictitious land, and then whatever, like fine, you've got like rock music back then. Okay.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't necessarily need to be like, I mean, we watched Game of Thrones and that wasn't set in merry old London, England. That was set in like the fictitious, like whatever, you got Lord of the Rings set in like Middle Earth and like all these other things. It's completely plausible. And then you can kind of like mix in a little like technology, if you will.
Yeah.
That maybe wasn't around at the time. And it's okay.
I mean, you got Tyrion back there playing Game Boy or something. So.
Yeah. Maybe not.
Sorry.
Well, I mean, they had Starbucks and
yeah.
So
yeah. I interrupted you. I'm so sorry.
No, that's
you were
all I had.
You were going on about something, but yeah. So on the subject of that, like, kind of things that threw me out of the movie a little bit before we get into like some things I really enjoyed about it. So I did notice there was a movie mistake in there. So towards the end, where they're doing the aerial shot of London, and you're seeing like the jousting arena and all this stuff. If you look in the top, I'm going to point to it on the screen here, like the top right corner of the screen, you see like they've done CG to make everything look old. but the London Ferris wheel is in the background, and I looked that
Oh,
up,
really?
and they built that in 1998 from the
Yeah.
research that I did. So I was like, they either forgot to take that out of there, or they intentionally left that in because it was like, we've got Queen in here. Why not just leave it in? I don't know, but
If I
I noticed that.
recall, it was like it wasn't the eye, like the one that they have now. It was, I remember seeing it. It was like or maybe I'm conflating that. We were watching a documentary on Disney, and they were showing old footage of a Ferris wheel, and I may be thinking of that now. But I might have to go back and just skip to that scene and look at it myself.
Yeah,
Kind of curious now.
You can see it. You can see it up in the corner. It's okay. Yeah.
Interesting.
Anyway, yeah.
Things we miss. That and like, I don't know, the Nike swooshes was like her logo.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. So is her name Nike? No. Okay. Did she do it for the Greek god Nike? No. Okay.
Yeah. No.
Just her symbol. That'll work.
Yeah. Yep. It works. It works with what the movie is. But
at least she didn't say just do it.
You're right. Right. So the beginning. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I thought like whenever they introduced her, that it was going to be one of those things where the girl he's originally interested in turns out to maybe not align with his idea, and then he's actually ends up with this blacksmith girl because she's more his speed, if you will. And I kind of thought, like, I kept thinking that was going to happen, but it didn't end up happening. And I gotta say, I kind of think he should have ended up with the blacksmith girl, personally.
I do too. And I had a note on here, like, I'm always a little leery of somebody that's like, prove to me that you love me.
Yes, that's not love, that's control.
Yeah, prove to me. I don't know what was she anyway. Like, she wasn't like a princess. She was. I'm assuming she's just like a lord's daughter or something.
Because like the other guy said that he was in negotiations with, I guess, her father.
Yeah,
which I mean, if you're gonna like,
who's
they kind of like. They've got it like they're putting in a lot of this modern type stuff, but at the same time they're also like, oh, but like we must adhere to all these like old fashioned notions of like property and your place within hierarchy and social ladder and all this other stuff, and you can't move and all that. And I just thought it was like really weird. And so they're like, she's effectively property in this setup or whatever. But at the same time, the way she's dressing is definitely not like the way they would have dressed in the Middle Ages in any way. And if somebody had dressed in that particular manner, she would have gotten quite the kickback, or not kickback, but just like I don't know, clapback, whatever the equivalent is at the time, like lashing back or whatever. Like, somebody would have said something for her to have been as revealing as she was, and which really wasn't like a lot. There was just like some sheer outfits, but
sure.
I don't know. It's just kind of like it definitely was like picking and choosing what rules they wanted to use and what rules they didn't, and it was definitely like kind of like two worlds that they were trying to blend together, and it can kind of work. Like, you can just like be like, okay, in this movie setting it's fine, like we'll roll with it. But like, whenever you start getting into it and start talking about it and picking at it, it falls apart really quickly. And that one definitely like takes me out of it. And like you said, the whole like, do this to prove your love to me, like, it's one thing to say like, prove your love to me by doing something that shows your devotion. Whatever, you get us a house or a land or whatever, but prove your love to me by taking a beating, that's abuse. Like, that's not okay. And any, like, if those roles were reversed, we would that movie would not have gotten made. Yeah. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't like that at all. That
was one thing I was like, you know. So I was thinking like, he should have went with maybe he should have went with the blacksmith.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah. Do have a comment here. Davros the Brute says such a great movie and a great soundtrack. Yes. We
good soundtrack.
As unconventional as it was. Yes, it was a good soundtrack. So
this is one of those ones like that we've been talking about where you're like with Twister, where we're like that's like you could go out and buy that album and you'd have like this collection of great music. Like if you went out and you bought this album, you would have like Queen, We Will Rock You, War, Lowrider, Taking Care of Business, Further Up the Road, Eric Clapton. What else did they have on there? The Boys Are Back in Town, Thin Lizzy.
Boys Are Back in Town. Yep,
yeah, We Are the Champions again. Queen, Freddie Mercury, but Shook Me All Night Long, AC/DC. Man, if I would have known about this CD, I would have gotten this CD back in.
Sure, yeah, without a doubt, yeah.
This would have been a good one for sure. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I do miss a good soundtrack. No, that's all right. I was thinking about the beginning of the movie. Right. One of the funniest scenes is when their knight is supposed to, be it for the joust next, and they go to find him, and you lost me there. Can you still hear me?
There we go.
Okay, there we go. They go to find him and he's dead. Right? he's dead in his armor,
and he stinks.
And he's stinking. And what's his name? You said his name just a minute ago. He was in Firefly.
I'm blanking. Alan Tudyk. Yeah,
Tudyk. Yeah, he just starts
wailing on him,
just kicking him and everything. And, I thought that was really funny because he's like, I haven't eaten in 3 days. Like, you need to get up. You need to.
He had a lot of energy for a guy that hadn't eaten in 3 days.
He did. Yeah.
I go a day without eating. I can't move.
Yeah.
Got no energy. Yeah. They said he stunk. I'm like, well, that's like, and then you got to put on that armor. Oh man, it must have reeked.
Oh man,
I don't think they washed it before.
How long's? Does he stink just because he hasn't bathed in a while, or if he stinks because he's dead?
Yeah,
like he's been dead for a while then, right? Like
how long has he been? Did it take the body to like after you die? Like, didn't you evacuate your bowels and stuff? I wonder how long that takes.
Yeah, I don't know.
If he was there all night though, he could have died like earlier in the night and just
I guess that's true.
For like 10 hours or something.
Just the absurdity of just like he's there dead, and I don't know.
I wonder if he died of like if they had a battle the day before and he died from like complications of that. They didn't really say. But at the same time, like later on in the movie, in the flashback, we see where the young boy William is dropped off with this knight to serve with him for a better life, if you will. And he's old at that time, and that was like 15. I think he said 15 years prior. And he's had to have been a good like easily 50 or 60. And in medieval times, that's like your end of life.
You're on death's door.
Yeah. And did you notice who that was?
He looked familiar, but I couldn't put my finger on.
Only one thing you'd probably know him from, and it's the only thing I recognize him from, but I recognized him right away. He played Little John in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves with Kevin Costner.
Yes. That's it. Yep.
Yeah. Little John. Yeah.
Yep.
But, playing another medieval knight.
Yeah. Well, what do you? Typecast in something, I guess.
I guess, yeah.
Was Little John a knight?
No, he wasn't. I guess he wasn't a knight. No, he was just like he was one of the, what were they called again? What do they call him? Then Robin Hood's merry man. He was a merry man. Yeah.
That's the merry.
Which not to bury the lead for the audience, but that's our movie next week is Robin Hood.
Yeah, there we go.
Very poetic that we have this one character that crosses over between the two movies. We don't often have that. We don't play 6 degrees here.
Maybe
that should be the thing. I don't know.
Well, no. Maybe it is Little John, and he got knighted.
No, maybe.
And this is just a continuation of his story. I don't know.
I can't remember if he survived Robin Hood or not. I think he did.
Yeah, we'll find out next week. I don't remember. So Will puts on the armor, right?
Yeah.
Because he's gonna go and he's gonna fight and hopefully win a little bit of money. And when he gets hit in the head and that helmet
like
gets dented, and then they present him to the Lord or whatever. Remove your helmet. And he just kind of hits it, and Alan Tudyk is just like, he can't, my lord. The blow really hurt him. Gosh, Alan Tudyk just does a good job in this movie.
Yeah.
I love watching him in this, and the banter that he has with Paul Bettany is just, it's great. And I don't know, he just does such a good job.
Fun.
In this
it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
The
The two of them
really
just like great back and forth between the two of them, and I really enjoyed Paul Bentley in this. Like, he shows up naked and he's like dirty, and he's got all these little like I can do this and I can do that. And he's kind of like, I don't know, what do you call it? Like, he's one of those persons that just like they can talk their way out of anything. Like he can, he can spin up a good
silver tongued,
yes. And it was great. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
Now, did you know he, like, that character, Jeffrey Chaucer, I guess is how you say it, he was a real dude. He was a writer back in medieval times. He has his own IMDb page.
Really?
He does. And so one of the things that they were doing with this movie is they were, I guess there's like IRL in real life, right? There's a year gap where like no one knows what this guy was doing. So when they're writing this, they're trying to like make this is what he was doing in that year gap of time.
Huh.
So
they just try to like, I wonder if they built like this. Did they build this entire movie around this actual guy?
No, it didn't say in what I was reading, but
that's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Interesting. I gotta respect, like not just his character, but like the whole band. Like their whole like they're hustling in the Middle Ages. Like they're just trying to make it work, and it's working, and it's a lot of fun. Like like it's a good, like, I don't know what you want to call it, but like it's just a good movie about like some guys just kind of like trying to make it work, and it was fun for that, for sure.
It's one of those things you're watching it, you're like, I kind of want to be part of this group. Like,
they're a lot of fun.
I want to go hang out with them, and get stinky because I'm living in the Middle Ages, and and get into some hijinks, and I don't know, but I thought it was hilarious when Will Ulrich wins the that one tournament, and they get that golden horse.
Yeah.
And he's, trying to basically pay Jeffrey's debt, because he's been gambling and all
off
that stuff.
The head.
Just knocks the head off. And then when he goes to pay the blacksmith, he like breaks another part off. He's like, here's your payment. They're just like piecing out this thing. And then he throws it to Mark. I can't remember what his name. Yes. And he's just, get what you can out of the rest of it.
Roland,
Yeah, Roland. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how he was. Like every time they won something, he'd get like some gold trinket, and he would just throw it to him and be like, "Get what you can for this." And move on with it. I'm like, why didn't they just hand out like gold? Like every other movie you watch about like Middle Ages, like they win like a little purse of gold.
There's a purse of gold. Yeah. It's like this. There's a feather, a golden feather. There's like what's
like I gotta imagine that somewhere there's one of these like knights that's just like well enough off, and he's just got like a big trophy room, and it's just like all these like random like golden trinkets everywhere.
I like when Roland's haggling with the guy when they get that feather. He's like, 20. Oh, this thing isn't worth 20. I'll give you 10 for it. 15. I'll give you 15. And I don't know. It's not. I guess it's not so funny when I'm talking when I'm saying it out loud right now. But it was. It was. I was chuckling when I was watching it. I don't know.
I think they wanted like they were arguing for like 20, but then like they kind of sidebarred, and they're like, really, we just need like 15, and they ended up getting to that point, and they're like, I guess, all right, you got me over the barrel, but let's do it. Yeah, that was good. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, just like give them gold. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
just like gold coins. We don't need like trinkets.
I mean, I guess like all of these, everybody that's competing is, are nobles, right? So maybe they don't need the money, maybe, it's just, we'll just give you this trinket and you can display it, by your coat of arms or something. I don't know. I didn't live back then. I have no idea. I think our family's from Ireland.
All over, a little mix of everything.
Yeah.
We got that great Western European mix.
Yeah.
But yeah, they got the gold. But I thought it was really funny. Like I guess maybe funny. I don't know. What were we saying?
Interesting.
Talking about interesting. Yeah, like how you were talking about like they don't really need the money and everything like that, and then to kind of get Will riled up about like that one tournament, they're like, oh yeah, he's raised the taxes 3 times on his on his land so that he can afford to do these matches and everything, and he's these people are starving and he's off at the banquets and
he's at the
banquet. Yeah, they're just kind of like needling him to get him to really go out and like just knock that guy off the horse after that. How many horses did he win? Like one of the rules was like if you knock him off the horse, you get to keep their horse, right? And
I think so. Yeah.
At a certain point, he just started knocking everybody off their horses. He must have had like a dozen or so horses.
Yeah.
He's got all these horses now, and they've been talking about like, well, we don't want to wear out the horse, so we're going to walk to the next place. And I'm like, but you've been winning all these horses. Why don't y'all just ride it? Each of you can ride a horse to the next place. I guess they were selling them before they left. So
I like how they were arguing though that like,
who got to ride it?
Can I ride for a little bit? Well, what's it gonna look like if my squire is on the horse and if somebody comes up on us? I think it was just a cheap trick to, I don't want to sit on this horse for a while.
Yeah,
longer.
we've all been there. Yeah.
Who
doesn't have the little sibling that you're like, here's player 2 controller. I'm just not going to plug it in.
Yes, exactly. What'd you think of the villain in this movie?
He was very very cliche, just very transparently a villain. Like he hit all of the marks. Like he comes in and he rubs his nobility in the other guy's face, and he's on his high horse, both literally and figuratively. He thinks he's better than the other guy. He thinks he can just have anything and anybody that he wants by just throwing his weight around or his title or whatever the case may be. And in the end, the only way he can beat our hero is by cheating. Of course, that's what he does is he cheats. And he was very one-dimensional. There wasn't a whole. I don't feel like there was a whole lot of thought given to the villain character in this particular instance, which is, I would imagine, as an actor coming into this part, you're just kind of like, oh, well, this guy doesn't. I just stand around and I brood and I look mean. Yeah, I'm just I'm a jerk. But so he didn't have a lot to him, but I kind of felt like that with pretty much. So once you got away from these core guys and to some extent, and the blacksmith girl, and to some extent the lead lady. Everybody else, they've got no depth to them. Although the prince seemed to have a little more depth to him than most of the other characters.
Yeah,
but that could also just be, a result of I don't remember who the actor was, but I've seen him in like so many other things. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah,
he looked very familiar. I should say.
Was he in Highlander? No, Highlander? Was he in?
Highlander? No,
No,
he's too
was it?
young for that. Highlander was
Was
like
it?
in the 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I've never seen Highlander. I don't know, but it was definitely like an 80s movie. I thought
Okay.
maybe early 90s. I don't remember, but he was Prince, not King, right?
Yeah, he was the prince.
Yeah. So I don't remember. But yeah, he definitely like looked familiar, but I couldn't place him. Like maybe like a I don't know
Mm-hmm.
rom com or something, or some
Mm-hmm.
British spy movie, or
Yeah.
something like that. But yeah, I couldn't place him. But it was definitely like it was bugging me, and I never
Yeah.
I haven't gone back to look it up yet,
Yeah.
so I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah,
Yeah.
he
I
was.
mean, I go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, he definitely like whenever the our villain didn't want to face off with him in the joust, and then our hero was
Mm-hmm.
like, "Well, I'll face off with him. Like, if he's
Mm-hmm.
gonna if he's gonna enter himself in the contest, nobody's forcing him to be here. He clearly wants to be
Yeah.
here to prove himself. I'll go up against him," and he
Yeah.
does, and I think he won. And
They had a draw.
did they
They
draw? Oh, okay.
they both hit each other and they were tied. And the
Okay.
prince came up to him and he said, "Hey, I'm done. Will you let me keep my honor?" So they just did a draw.
That wasn't the prince. That was earlier. That was somebody else. The prince and him came up later in the movie, but the prince was wearing the same like weird head thing, mask or whatever, and
Okay.
then they went
I
against
thought
each
it was the
other.
prince because later the reason that he gets him out of the stocks and knights him is he says, You did me a kindness, so
Yeah,
I'm going to do the same for you."
yeah, but the kindness was allowing him to compete instead of just because the villain didn't even want to go up against him. He withdrew,
Mm,
like
okay.
wouldn't
Yeah.
even give
Yeah.
him the chance to prove himself, and that was all he wanted to do. Is he wanted to be able to come in and prove that he could compete at this level.
Mm,
And whenever our hero William goes against him and allows him that opportunity, he's uh, what's the word, like he's just grateful about it. And like because
mm-hmm.
afterwards he rides up to him, and William says to him something like, my lord or prince or something
Mm-hmm.
like that, and recognizes who he is. And then he takes off his helmet and he's like, "You knew who I was the whole time." And he's like, "Yeah."
That's right. Yeah.
And he's like,
Yeah.
"And you went against me anyways." He's like, "Yeah, if you're going to be here and you want to compete, I'm not going to stand in your way."
Yep.
And they had that moment, and then later on, yes, he knights him and everything for it, which I had forgotten about whenever that came up. But as soon as I saw him, I was like, "Oh yeah, of course." Like the
Yeah.
prince kind of like owes him, or
Yeah.
respects him enough that he's gonna like get him out of the situation. But anyways, I digress.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No. And the thing that like going back to the villain, I can't remember his name, and maybe I don't know. But that's just who
He
he
doesn't
is.
deserve a name.
But I really would have liked to have seen and I don't know if this is in his capacity or not. I don't know how all that worked back then, but I really would have liked to have seen the prince strip him of his title because he
Oh yeah.
cheated.
Oh yeah.
And that would have been like, just the, yeah, you were like, you were, bashing Will because he was, some lowborn person. Now you are a peasant, because you were, you were a
You
jerk,
have no
and
honor.
yeah, you have no honor, and you were, looking at our, our female lead as property, and
Yeah.
all these
Which
things.
that was
I
the
mean,
way it
back
was.
then that's what it was back then, yeah. But Will wasn't looking at her like
That's right.
you
That's
know.
right. Yeah.
See,
Which
he's a
like
modern man.
kind of, yeah. But like, so you remember whenever they have the dance, like
Hmm.
they dance like with that really modern song, and our villain, the count, storms off because he's like, "Oh, I tried to make a fool out of
Hmm.
him, making him do this dance," and then everybody joined in. It was a whole thing. and everybody had a good time. So he storms off. And then later on, they go, and it's right before the joust with the prince. Or I think it was right after he jousted the prince and acknowledged the future king or whatever. And they had their little thing. And I think he had won, and he passed off the treasure to be pawned off or whatever. And she walks up to him. Jocelyn walks up to him and starts talking to him about like being a flower or whatever they were talking in code about. And he's mad at her. Why was he mad?
Where was that? I have a note on that. I was a little confused as to why he got angry with her. I didn't understand.
Because the scene before, whenever they're together, they're dancing and they're happy. And then it's just like this tonal shift. I think there was like a deleted scene or something got cut out and we missed like whatever it was that explained that. And it was it was very jarring. It was just like, suddenly he's mad at her. And then he wasn't. Like the next scene that they're together, it's like all is forgiven or he's moved on with it or what. It's like, it's definitely like this one little part gets left in and there's like this small little bit of story that's just like, we're missing the beginning and we're missing the end of whatever happened in this argument. And all we got was just the argument in the middle. And it's just like, it's stuck with me.
Dancing.
I'm like, why?
She saved him from looking like a fool because he didn't know what else to do. And she comes in and she claps.
Yeah.
I guess that saved the dance. Everybody's, now we know what we're doing, because we're clapping.
They're happy and smiling and they're having a good time. They even, made the count look like a fool and he stormed off. I don't know. It was very weird. It just like, it stuck with me. I'm just like, why is he mad with her? But then, like I said, then it just kind of like the next time they're together, it doesn't get brought up. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess we're moving on. But it just felt like very teen drama. Like they're just mad at each other for no reason. And then suddenly they're okay with it, which is just like, I mean, as a teenager, I guess that's kind of how that goes. Sometimes you're just somebody's mad at you and you don't know why. And then suddenly oh, well, they're over it. So we're going to move on. But yeah.
You remember when we were discussing The Mummy and we were talking about how bad the CGI was with the water?
Oh, okay. I don't remember any CGI in this.
When Jocelyn is looking in the water in the church.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Just for that moment. Yeah.
That looked bad.
I saw that and I was like, that's not even like the right angle or... Yeah. It's clearly like they put this in here for whatever. I don't even know why. Like it's not necessary. It's definitely like they must have had like a little budget for special effects and they're like, I don't know, put a reflection in this pool.
We gotta use this. Could you guys? There's we can see the Ferris wheel in this other shot. No. We're using her reflection in the water.
Yes, somebody was a favorite of the director for sure.
Yes. What'd you think about his poem that he wrote her in the church in front of God and everybody?
Definitely not as good as the one that everybody else wrote for him.
Yes.
Which I thought maybe that's why she was upset with him, but the sequences were out of order. So, and he was upset with her, not her with him. So, it was. I gotta admit, like he started going off in the poem, and I checked my phone for a minute, and I looked away for a minute during that.
Well, the funnier part of that was before when they're writing her the letter before he's having everybody's help, and then Alan Tudyk is like
he's crying.
So, well, before that though, he's like, write a poem about her chest. Whatever. And then the blacksmith, she's like, you won't want to do that. They weren't that impressive anyway.
Maybe that's why. And then the blacksmith girl.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. But then they write that you're right, and he's crying when he's like giving it to her, and they're.
I like whenever he goes back and he's like, "It's like, well, did she have anything for me, a favor or anything like that?" And he's like, "She did have one thing, but." And then he just like plants one on him. He's like, "Yes." That was great. That was funny.
Yeah. I like the little montage in the beginning of them all of them training
Oh
Will
yeah,
on like how to
yeah,
joust. I love a good montage
yeah.
in a movie, and it was fun to see them, like they've got the horse, and then the horse is getting tired out, so we're just gonna have have these two guys like pull the
Pull him in the
cart.
river.
Yeah. And that was really funny. I laughed at that when he finally gets it through the ring. He's like,
Yeah.
I got it, and he falls in the water. And then Roland walks up there. He's like, any minute now, here he comes.
Bubbles.
And he's just stuck down there.
They had to have gotten him out at some point.
Yeah. I'm guessing the weight of the armor or something. But yeah, I thought it was. I got a chuckle out of that.
I did the armor that she made him, like the light armor that he ends up with later on. He gets hit with that battering ram pretty hard, and he's like, I didn't feel a thing.
Oh yeah.
What did they make this armor out of? Because physics still exists at this time, right?
Yeah.
Like transient of inertia and energy and all that.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna feel that, like the same as he's gonna feel like getting hit with a lance or whatever the case may be. Sure, the armor is not gonna dent, it's not gonna budge, but like he's still gonna take the brunt of whatever impact it is. But they act like this armor is just like rubber and everything's just bouncing right off of them. And I'm like,
this is a movie that is in a universe where
all its own
and Thin Lizzy exist.
That's right.
In the 1300s. So,
all right.
Sure, he doesn't feel anything, It's for all we know, it's mithril armor that Bilbo Baggins has given him.
It could have been
stuck underneath here. Yeah, I don't know.
He discovered it somewhere.
Yes.
I like how they were all like laughing at him because he didn't have any like pants or anything like that, and then he just like bounces up onto the horse, and they're like, "Oh." Like they got it. Oh, it's
yeah,
great. He's got the armor on the horse already, so he's good. Okay.
What'd you think about Paul Bentley's just the way his character commanded the audience? It was just great. How he just,
it was great. I feel like
Lichtenstein.
I feel like I would not be surprised to find out that he auditioned for Loki. Like he could have been just as good a Loki as he is a Vision. Loki. Yeah. But like he was very like he was a good like jester or MC, master of ceremonies, if you will. Very commanding of the audience, as an actor would be, but still like it was that was probably one of the better written characters out of the whole movie was his character.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Makes me again circle back to was the kernel idea that bore this movie, the thought of this guy that really existed and the year that like he had disappeared and building an entire movie around that year, and then being like, you know what we need? Rock music and a training montage.
Yes. Yep.
And
for the ladies, we'll throw a love story in here, and
and a teen heartthrob.
Yeah,
we'll be good.
Yeah, because he was just Ledger was just coming hot off of 10 Things I Hate About You, I think, around this time, wasn't he?
Yeah, like
probably.
No, 10 Things I Hate About You, was that 99 or was that 2001?
I thought it was before this movie, but anyway, you're right though. Like,
he did you're right. It was he'd just done 10 Things I Hate About You and The Patriot, which was like another one that like
that's right. Yeah,
he was like
really good.
Or whatever, and then this was kind of like the beginning of his kind of like rise, and then like just a couple years later he does like Brokeback Mountain, which is like his big like Oscar win and everything, and then a few years after that Dark Knight. And I gotta say, like, I mean, he was taken young, but what a pretty good like IMDb page to have. I mean, I can't imagine where he would have gone after this. Like, only up, I imagine. Like, just because like he was definitely like a great caliber of an actor, had some depth, had some range. I would have loved to have seen what he continued on doing. Maybe a Knight's Tale Part 2. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? I don't know how they would have done that, but They have him and Jocelyn have a son, and they force him into poverty so that he can rise up to be.
And then he becomes the Buddha.
That's right. So do you think his dad, he just basically just gives him away to this knight that's passing through? You think he's just like, I'm tired of this whole dad thing, and this knight's passing through, and
I think
you can
he's
change
blind.
your stars, son.
He's blind by the time his son comes back around, right?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
So I think what happened is he started going blind because he's got like cataracts, it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think he realized that he was starting to lose his sight and he couldn't take care of his son and thought, what's the best life I can offer him? And sends him off. I mean, like back then, like it seems like that's just kind of like the thing you do. Like you either run away from home and you find yourself a better life, or you're forced into a situation where you're given a better life in one way or another, whatever that happens to be. But it's very rare that like the person grows up in poverty, impoverished or whatever, lives out a decent life or, whatever amount of life that they can live until like their 20s or 30s, and then turns it all around and decides to go off and like become a hero for whatever. Like they don't go from farmer to hero. Like there's not too many of those stories. Yeah. There's always something that challenges them throughout their life, and that was his challenge. Like he wouldn't have been who he was if he didn't have that experience, like all that training that he went through, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's what it was. He's just trying to get a better life.
I'm sure it was.
They didn't say anything about his mom, did they?
No, I mean, you just assume the times she died.
Black plague, diphtheria, something.
Yeah. Who knows?
All right. I fully expected to go back onto the music thing. He called her a foxy lady. I fully expected Foxy Lady to play at some point, and it did not. And I was a little disappointed. Disappointed we did not get Foxy Lady.
Maybe they had that line written, and they just couldn't get the rights to the song or something.
Couldn't get it. I'm sure there's a deleted scene where he does like the whole like Garth Foxy Lady dance. We missed it. It's somewhere. It's got to be out there on celluloid somewhere. And I want to see it. I want to see all of it.
Yeah. Well, that's A Knight's Tale for me.
Yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up for me too. One of my last notes is that I really did enjoy the movie. It was fun as long as you suspend disbelief, except for the romance. The romance just felt very teen drama, and I'm not like it felt out of place in this movie. Yeah, I felt if the romance was a little more aged up, a little more mature, it probably would have worked out better. It would have worked better, but it felt like CW teen drama thing. Yeah. And that was the only part for me. I mean, I could deal with the music being out of place. I can deal with this whole like universe that they built. Just the teen drama thing. Yeah. Just couldn't do it. That part was bugging me.
So I could see, and this is not the movie that they were wanting to make, and that's fine. Or maybe it was, and it turned into what it is. But I could see this movie with a few tweaks. Like I said, the music, fix more, make the romance more of an adult romance.
Just age it up about 5 years.
Yeah. And then if you would have had a little more, like the Count is just like they made him, like you're saying, such a stereotypical like bad guy. Like he's the Black Knight.
Yeah.
It's like he's all in black. He's got dark hair. He's brooding. He's clearly the bad guy. If they would have made him a little more 3-dimensional, and they would have
cast Alan Rickman,
that would have been great. Yep. I don't know. I think they could have made this movie on almost you're gonna say I'm crazy. I think with a few things they could have made this movie almost like Gladiator status. I think.
Yeah, you're crazy.
Oh, I think they could have. I think they could have. I can envision this movie being like a very like serious tone, like, you know, he's coming up from nothing and becoming a knight, and he
They
actually, you know,
did
he has
though.
to kill the count at the end, you know, or I don't know.
They did with well, I mean, kind of with like what's that one that they did with Orlando Bloom, Kingdom of Heaven, like
That was
right
a
around
great
this
movie.
time.
That's a
Yeah,
great movie. Yeah.
medieval times
Hmm.
drama. Like, I mean, it's not very common. Like, you don't the medieval movies, like you don't get a lot of like depth to them. They're
Hmm.
very focused on like the battles and
Mm.
um maybe politics,
Yeah.
but not a lot of like character development and growth that you see in these movies based around medieval times. Like even this one, like really, like what was the character's growth? What was his arc? He earned being a knight,
Hmm.
which, I mean, like, he didn't change for that. He was who he was from beginning to end. He maybe
Yeah.
developed some skills, but emotionally, he didn't change. He didn't grow. Nobody did. Not even the bad guy. The bad guy didn't suffer. I can't remember what happened to him at the end. He just kind of like
He's just on his back
ran away with his
because
tail between his legs.
they,
Yeah,
yeah, they told him, you know, or William had told him, like, I mean, you're going to find yourself on your back one of these
yeah.
days or something like that. Yeah. And
Came at him with no armor on and took him off. I was like,
yeah,
you could have done this
that
the
was
whole
pretty
time,
metal.
and yeah, could have taken him off of his horse this whole time, and now like you're gonna do it without any armor? I don't know.
That okay. I will say this. I know I tried to wrap up a second ago, but now that we're on
No.
this subject, one thing, the biggest thing that I thought was the cheesiest thing was when he is coming at him at the end and he screams his name, William. I'm like, that's me. Like, I'm running, Ryan. What?
All like
You're
all I can
screaming
think
your own name.
is they're trying to do Braveheart. That's all it was. They were trying to do freedom, but you know they
Freedom.
couldn't
Yeah.
say freedom. Like
Yeah.
for whatever reason, William was the word. They could have given him any better word. He could have yelled
Any-
Jocelyn. It would have been better.
Jocelyn.
But
Yeah.
his own name, that
I
right there,
know.
you know what? I take it back. The character did experience regression because he screamed out
Yeah.
his own name at
Own
the
name
end
at
instead
the
of his love.
that's my one thing that I can't look past on this movie. The rest of it, I get it. It comes with it. I enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah, enjoyed it for what it
it's
was.
I'd watch it again. It's not something I'm
Yeah,
going to watch all the time, but I'd watch this
yeah.
movie again.
If it's on, I'll watch it.
Yeah, but I'm gonna mute it when he's and just pretend that he's saying like bastard, you know, or something, and he's knocking him off. Like, I don't know anything but his own name. I mean, give me a break.
Yeah. Well, you may not want to watch the post-credit scene then.
Tell me what this is. Tell me this post credits scene. What is
William's
this?
not in it. It's Roland and the Kate, the blacksmith girl, and
Mhm.
Watt, Alan Tudyk's character, and Paul
Mhm.
Bentley, and they're all, for whatever reason, kind of like up in a loft, sitting around like an opening in a loft,
Mhm.
and at like over a bar, it seems like, or what are they, an ale house or whatever they called them back then,
Tavern or something. Yeah. Yeah.
tavern, yeah, and they're being handed up beers, and so they're all like knocking back beers,
Mm.
and then one at a time they take turns. First Roland, Mark Adney's character, and then Paul Bentley's character, and then Kate the blacksmith, and then finally like wait. But they each take turns and they just rip a big fat juicy one. One at a time until it gets to Alan Tudyk's character, who can't, and he just whistles out like this tiniest little one, and they're all like, "Oh yeah, you're out, you lose." I guess it was like a game they were playing or something. So yeah, that's like, if you hang around for the post credit scene.
I'm done with this movie. I'm done with this movie. I'm done with this movie. Wow. Okay. When I said this could be Gladiator quality,
Then they rip one.
I'm wrong. I'm wrong. Gosh darn. Anytime. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm a 38-year-old man, and I have grown up with fart jokes my whole life, and there's always a situation for
I've
a
suffered
good
many
fart
of them.
joke, But in a movie, anytime they do that in a movie, I'm like, this is low hanging fruit. Like
Yeah.
you're
It's like a 1 in 100 shot that
yeah,
it'll get a chuckle out of me.
yeah,
But yeah, like anytime they put it in, I'm like, yeah, okay, you did it, you went there, and it takes it down to a very common denominator place for humor, and it's like, yeah, okay, all right, I see what you did.
Yeah.
You should
Yeah.
pat on the head, whatever.
Yeah. We're done.
Yep. It was post credits, like very last, like 5 seconds, 6 seconds of the movie or whatever it was.
Mhm.
But yeah, that was. There you go, post credit scene.
I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I missed out on that.
Yeah. So that was A Knight's Tale. It was a
It was a
listener
Knight's Tale.
suggestion. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'd never seen it before. You said you'd seen it before.
Mhm.
I missed this one. I will admit, I first saw the trailer for this one, and they did the We Will Rock You thing in the trailer, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm out." And at the time, Heath Ledger was. You keep in mind where Heath Ledger was. He was teen heartthrob. He wasn't.
Yeah.
He hadn't shown us everything that he shows us later on. He was still like, like the teen heartthrob thing. So he was being billed as that. And so there was absolutely nothing that made me go, oh yeah, I want to go watch this. Like Paul Bentley, never heard of him before. Mark Addy, I hadn't heard of him before. Although I watched Mark Addy in Still Standing, I think was the sitcom he did.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
I watched that. That was fun. I enjoyed him in that. That's really like what I came to know him for was that. And then Game of Thrones, he was the Baratheon or whatever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And,
excellent job in Game of Thrones.
Yeah. And then again, gone back and like seen him at other things now and been like, oh, okay, he was in like what was it? The Full Monty, like which was like a very
he was in that, yeah.
But I'd never seen it before. But yeah, so like, and Alan Tudyk, who I'd never heard of whenever this movie came out, I've discovered Alan Tudyk with Firefly a couple years later, and then everything he's done subsequently, and again, retrospectively gone back and enjoyed his career thoroughly since then. But yeah, so whenever this came out, like there was nothing in it that I was like, I got to go see this movie. And then they did the We Will Rock You thing, and I'm like, okay, this takes me out of it before I've even seen the movie. I think they should have saved that. Although maybe putting that in the trailer kind of prepares the audience so they don't go and then suddenly you're like, wait, what's happening? Why is this in here? Like, I wasn't expecting this. So you're expecting it from the trailer before you go see the movie. So I'll give them that. At least they kind of prepared the audience for it. And it's still, like you said, made $150 million on like what, a $40 million budget or something like that. So
it's $60 million, made 117. So that's
so about double.
They made a profit, turned a profit off this movie. Yeah.
So there's that.
I mean, it's a good, like really, this is a good popcorn flick.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yes, it's a good popcorn.
And
flick.
We've discussed that before. That is fine. Like I am all about popcorn flicks.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be some Ridley Scott epic that I'm watching. I can.
And a Ridley Scott movie can be a popcorn flick.
Yep.
And it's fine. Yeah. Popcorn flicks are fun. I love popcorn flicks.
Yep.
You know what? I don't go back and rewatch epic masterpieces all the time. You know what I go back and rewatch a lot? Popcorn flicks. Because they're fun. Yep. I can just put it on and I can enjoy myself. I don't have to think about it. It's not too deep. It's fun. I enjoy it. I love popcorn flicks. They're absolutely my favorite for sure. Yes. And I enjoyed it. It was fun. Were there some things that take me out of it? Sure. But it was fun. I enjoyed it. I highly recommend it. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. Yes.
Absolutely. Fozzie Guy, thank you for
for
recommending this one to us. Like I said, I'd seen it before. We actually owned this as a family when I was in high school, and we would watch it. I mean, we watched it a couple times, but I don't know. But hey, we have a few comments.
Sure.
So our first one was we actually had two of them. I think it was from our City Slickers episode. We were discussing how movies just aren't very original anymore. And we kind of had this little discussion on that.
Oh,
Two
yeah,
guys. What'd you say?
And we were discussing like where we could find that today in modern times.
Yes. Two guys, Benjamin Evans and Marty Party. Great name. They both said, check out A24. And I'm like, what is this? So I looked it up. A24 Films.
Yeah, it's a studio production company. I think it started in Apple, didn't it? Am I wrong?
It might have. I'm not sure. I didn't look that deep into it. But now that I should have had some
or they may
movies.
have just produced a lot of early Apple stuff.
They might have.
But yeah,
I should have had some. Well, yeah, go ahead. I should have had some movies fired up, but I didn't. But I recognize some of them. So
yeah, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I know that I've seen several trailers where I've been like, "Ooh, that looks like fun," or "That looks like it would be good." And then I get the A24 thing at the end, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay." And then I started to recognize that and be like, "Oh, it's by A24, so this might be worth checking out." And yeah, definitely, I would agree. They've had some interesting things. I've seen. I can't think of anything specific, but I know I've seen things and seen that it was an A24 production and thought, oh yeah, that does look really good. Like I want to see that. That looks like it would be fun.
Trying to see. Okay, here we go. Ex Machina. I enjoyed that.
That
was one of them. The Lighthouse, Uncut Gems.
Oh yeah.
Trying to find a few others. Maxine. I haven't watched that, but I've heard that's really good. Moonlight.
They do a lot of like thriller and horror movies.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna have to watch some more. Oh, the big one, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh yeah, that's like the recent one.
Yeah. But yeah. I will definitely. I need to check out some more of those movies because I do like, something different once in a while. But
yeah.
So thanks guys for giving us those comments and pointing us in that direction. Our other one, the one I have, it's our show, was from again from Darvos the Brute. He was on here just earlier watching the show with us. Yeah. He said on our TMNT 2 episode, he said, happy 1 year anniversary. This podcast takes tokens. So thank you very much, Darvos the Brute. We appreciate you. We thank you for listening. We thank everybody else that's been here with us for a whole year. It's been fun.
Absolutely.
We're growing. We're learning. We're having fun. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, before we sign out, let me give you our icebreaker for next week.
Yeah.
And let me give that to you. Before I do, anybody listening, if you want to send us in an icebreaker, we would happily take some suggestions for a good icebreaker question.
Yeah.
With that being said, my icebreaker this week for you for next week is what is the first thing you remember building on your own? Big or small, doesn't matter. Just the first thing that your first creative endeavor that you remember embarking upon solo or solo-ish. Like maybe somebody got you the materials or pointed you in the right direction, but you did most of it yourself, or you wanted to do it. It was your own idea, or whatever the case may be. But your first solo creative endeavor, the first thing you remember building or making, whatever that may be, could be something big, could be something small. Just earliest from memory. What was that? We'll talk about it next week.
Does this have to be something like original that I did?
No, just whatever, whatever first comes to mind. As far as like something that you first built that you remember enjoying and wanting to build, not maybe necessarily like a homework project or something like that, a diorama or something like that, but something that you had the idea of, I want to make or create this thing, and I did this, whatever that may be. So we'll talk about that next week at the beginning of the episode. All right. Till we see y'all next week. Remember, sharing is caring. Reviews help a lot. We had a lot of fun. Be kind, rewind. See y'all next week.
See you later. This Podcast Takes Tokens is a Clay Street production.